Hi everyone, this is Natalie with Champion of Coins Tarot. I hope that you are doing really well today. I wanted to come on to film my response to Crescent Dream Tarot's new community building tag, which is hashtag Tarot Community Build. I really enjoyed watching their video. I also really enjoyed Kay from Amidst the Grays video response, and I thought that I would jump in as well because one of my goals for this year is really to connect more deeply with the tarot community and to have a more visible and more active presence. So I thought that this tag is just a great way for all of us to get to know one another on that deeper level, and I'm excited to participate. There are 10 questions along with a lightning round, which is unrelated to tarot, but very fun, and I'm looking forward to that. And I have some decks scattered around me that are kind of representative of the energies that I've been working with in January and February that I might sprinkle in along the way to answer some of these. So without any further ado, go ahead and I will get started. The first question is name, preferred pronouns, and channel name. So my name is Natalie. That is my real birth name. That's how folks refer to me in real life too. My pronouns are she, her, and the channel name is Champion of Coins Tarot because when I started it 7 years ago, the Knight of Pentacles or the Knight of Coins or the Champion of Coins, as I think of this card, was my tarot signifier and has a very special place in my heart to this day. Question 2. What first got you into tarot? And if you have a channel, why did you create it? So, oh my goodness, this is going to be a bit of a meandering answer. I first discovered tarot when I was 17. I had very bad insomnia when I was in high school, and I would stay up and just hit the random search button on Wikipedia to find random things to read. And tarot was one of those articles that came up, and I was just instantly hooked. I have always been a very spiritually minded person. I grew up in the Catholic Church, and my mom worked as a music director for many of the different parishes that we went to when I was growing up. And I had a deep appreciation always for astrology and for mythology that kind of clashed with those Catholic beliefs that I was growing up with. And tarot for me was like this absolutely just amazing gateway because I saw it as being a way for me to blaze my own spiritual path as I was transitioning into my adulthood. I also was very taken with the therapeutic aspects of tarot and the ability to relate it to shadow work, the ability to relate it to archetypal work and other aspects of psychology that also very much appealed to me because at that time I had just started going to therapy. So it kind of seemed like a way for me to be able to get to know myself on a deeper level, to chart these unknown waters spiritually. And when I was 18, my birthday present to myself was The Golden Tarot by Liz Dean. I went to Barnes & Noble, and the second I locked eyes with it, I just knew that this was going to be my first tarot deck. It is in order right now because I'm going to film a walkthrough and review video of it after all this time. But I absolutely loved this deck. I slept with it under my pillow at night. I carried it with me in my purse everywhere. I read for my friends. I read for my sister with this deck. But I had a difficult time connecting with it at first. And it wasn't until a year later I actually got a copy of the Rider-Waite-Smith and several other decks and really started taking my studies very seriously and devoting time to it every single day. And the rest was history. Now, during this time, there were not a lot of online resources for learning tarot. The bubble had not yet burst. We were still a few years out. And there also were not very many people outside of my intimate circle of friends who knew what tarot was or who really accepted it because it was seen as being associated with witchcraft and demonology and all of these taboo things in American culture at that time. And I really found teachers and kindred spirits through the YouTube tarot community. Kellyanne Maddox's Introduction to Tarot course was so foundational for me. Ethany and her 31 Days of Tarot challenge were also just really big motivators. In fact, for her 2016 31 Days of Tarot challenge, I finally kind of bit the bullet and went in and created my own channel and did that daily challenge, answering all of the questions. And it was really fantastic. I made a lot of friends, some of whom I'm still in contact with on social media to this day. I learned so much. I grew so much very rapidly. And that community really held me during a lot of those wild and wayward formative years for me, and I'm always indebted to it. I did take a break from social media between 2018 and 2021 for a few reasons. One was that I graduated college and I entered the working world, and people started finding my YouTube channel, so I privated a lot of videos. Another reason was I went through a long, intensive conversion process to Judaism when I left college. And I'm still a practicing Jew to this day. It was really a wonderful spiritual home for me, and still is. But a lot of that work I wanted to do offline because for various reasons, it just was very intimately personal. I didn't want to share a lot about it publicly while I was still going through this learning and initiation process. And also it corresponded, sadly, with a rise in anti-Semitism. There was a Tree of Life synagogue shooting in 2018, which completely changed my life and changed the lives of many people that I know in the Jewish community. And it just felt safer to not engage online publicly, especially after folks had known me being one way for so long and then converting. So in 2022, though, I really felt the call to come back, because throughout all this time, I was still reading tarot for myself. I was still learning and just very deeply invested in understanding other spiritual traditions along with my Jewish studies. And I also ended up moving states. So in 2021, I moved from the East Coast to very conservative state in the Midwest. And I no longer had access to that in-person community and to all of those friends who had shared those similar interests with me. And so in 2022, I felt called to come back and to dip my toes into the waters of the tarot community. And now I'm doing it again, or at least making the commitment to myself to engage more consistently, because it is just so life-affirming and just so wonderful to be able to connect with people who share similar interests and who share similar passions in life to you, especially with the pandemic and having, so many of us being confined to our homes and having to interact with our friends and loved ones solely in a digital space because of safety concerns. It really just made me see all over again the value of having online community and the value of being able to connect with different folks with different perspectives from around the world. So that is why I am back and hopefully here to stay. The third question is, what is your tarot aesthetic? Basically, what kinds of decks are you attracted to? I would describe my tarot aesthetic as being incredibly eclectic. So I have a variety of decks. I have almost 100 at this point, all of differing art styles from different traditions. So I think a good example of what might be consistent across all of them, or at least consistent with my current passion and understanding of tarot, would be the Mythical Goddess Tarot by Sage Holloway and Catherine Skaggs. This is a 78 card deck that is inspired by the Thoth system. and every card features a different aspect of the divine feminine from world mythology. So there are many different cultures. There are very many myths that are represented in this deck, but it has a very strong, very empowering voice. I think the art style is also very indicative of my aesthetic, because not only is it multicultural, but it's very elemental and very vibrant. And I really enjoy decks where all of the suits have kind of a similar color coding to them. I think it makes it a lot easier for me to be able to read elementally, to be able to pick up on the energy and the connections between various cards in a spread. And it serves as a focal point for grounding. So for me, like, if it's multicultural, if it's color coded, and if it's a little bit off the beaten path, then I'm going to like it as well. Because so many of my favorite decks, like the Golden Tarot, like the Fantastical Tarot, which here I can show you, and this one is definitely a bit darker and more gothic in terms of aesthetic. Like, this Justice card just really embodies the moodiness and the dreaminess and the uncanniness of this particular deck. Like, this is a deck that's not popular. This isn't going to be one that you are going to see a lot of people have for various reasons, mainly because it is out of print now, but also because it kind of has a bit of a spookiness, a bit of like an unhinged feel to it. But like, I love that. Like, I always am pulled by very strong and distinctive artistic styles. I'm always pulled to creators who are looking at a different way of interpreting these universal archetypes. And that is always what guides me, is like, if I have an intuitive connection with the artist's work, then I am going to go after that deck. And I'm not necessarily paying attention to what all of the new releases are. To be honest, I have absolutely no idea, and I'm happy to live that way. I'm happy to be guided by my impulses. Question 4, what tarot system is your favorite and which do you want to learn? So I am a Rider-Waite-Smith girl, as I'm sure many folks are. Like, this classic plastic-coated cardstock US Games edition with the plaid backs is what I think of when I don't have a tarot deck in hand. These are the images that are so deeply ingrained in my heart and in my mind and in my soul. And this is also the method of reading tarot that I think really resonates well with other people. It's such a part of the collective consciousness as well that it feels like a universal language. So that is why I am very devoted to the Rider-Waite-Smith. But I also do know how to read with the Thoth system. I've had a very deep kind of love-hate relationship with the Thoth tarot over the years, mainly because of personal issues that I have with Crowley and with the historical appropriation of the Jewish Kabbalistic tradition into Hermeticism. But I am learning how to let go. It's like my Dr. Strangelove moment, how I learned to stop worrying and love the Thoth tarot. And I actually, like, a lot of decks that I've purchased in the last year, including this new one, which is the Babylonian tarot, which is also out of print and like not new at all. But, you know, this is a Thoth clone. Like, I've just been very pulled to understanding the system, and especially to decks like this, which offer representation of cultures and world mythology that typical tarot decks do not. Also, I'm a huge fan of the Outgrow Yourself Tarot and Oracle, which keeps the Thoth system, but has removed almost all of the Kabbalistic imagery and just keeps the keywords. And that has also been very, very powerful for me to be able to engage with. So yeah, learning how to love the Thoth. For the Tarot of Marseille, I also know how to read that system, but Marseille decks and I have not have like we haven't had a very long lasting relationship. There were definitely periods of my life where I had a lot of Marseille decks and I was like really invested in that, but I have sold or given away almost all of them except for the Golden Tarot, which we saw earlier, which is a hybrid of the Rider-Waite-Smith and the Visconti Sforza system, and then the Ancient Italian Tarot by Lo Scarabeo, which is a historical reproduction deck. I believe the original version of this deck was published in the 1860s in Italy. So this one, especially because it has more traditional depictions of the major arcana, and then you have these very floral, very illustrative pips. This is like the only true Marseille deck that I have left, which is interesting, but there you go. Another kind of long-winded, rambly answer, but I'm kind of in that conversational mood right now, so I hope you will continue to indulge me. Question 5. What are your top 3 favorite major arcana? And this is very fun because I chose 2 cards that I have intimately pathworked with, and then I chose my stalker major arcana right now that I've been pulling every single day. So first of all, we have the Empress. The Empress and I also have had a bit of an interesting relationship where at first I really struggled with this card because so many guidebooks at the time, especially guidebooks that focused more on predictive tarot readings, really emphasized the Empress's role as a mother, which as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old just beginning to read about tarot, I really didn't connect with that version of femininity. I felt like it was very outdated. But over time and over journeying with this card, I have come to see the Empress as really being the embodied divine in the tarot. I see her as being kind of the nexus point of creation of all kinds, not just like thinking about gestation in terms of ideas and art and philosophy and poetry and dance and movement and just all of the amazing things that human beings are able to create in all of their forms. Like the Empress to me is just kind of that purest potential of that. And also thinking about the Empress in terms of thinking about the physical earth as well and our relationship with the seasons and with the environment, kind of like this Gaia energy, or like if I were to compare it to maybe ancient Jewish thought, like Asherah, right? The divine feminine principle, the kind of primeval, generative, feminine creative force in the world. So Empress for sure is one of my favorites, and I've really grown to love her and to see the Empress in all things. Another card that is really powerful for me in the major arcana is the Hierophant. And I think this speaks so much to my love of religion of all kinds, and especially my love of learning about religion as a technology for culture and for meaning making. Often it's the religious impulse, this desire to go beyond ourselves and our own personal experience and to try to connect with something that's greater, that leads us to a deeper intuitive understanding of other people and to a kind of adoption of morals and, again, like meaning and values that kind of bind us together as a society, as a collective, and not just as an individual in the world anymore. Also, it's the Pope in the Rider-Waite-Smith, and that figure in just, like, I can't think of a better kind of archetype within the collective unconscious that embodies all of the beauty and the height and the drama and the knowledge of conventional religious tradition with the greed and power and corruption and deep harm that strictly adhering to the orthodoxy or to the letter of the law as opposed to the spirit of the law can have on a culture and on a society. Personally, also, I was a religious studies major. When I was a kid, I thought I wanted to become a nun. When I was an adult, I thought I wanted to become a rabbi. I don't want to be any of those things anymore, but I respect how important the work of religious and spiritual leaders is, and also how intensely difficult it is. So I deeply love and respect the Hierophant. I don't want to be the Hierophant, but it's definitely an archetype that has had just such like a major impact on me and my life journey. And then last, I'm going to choose the Wheel of Fortune as my third favorite card. The Wheel of Fortune, I think it also speaks of seasonality, that there are going to be periods of your life that are very rich. There are going to be periods of your life that are fallow. And just learning how to be able to be strong and centered in yourself and to have the faith and the trust and also just the absolute insanity necessary to be able to navigate life with purpose and optimism in spite of all of the twists and turns and ups and downs that fate can throw at you. This has been a very pivotal card in terms of reading for other people. When the wheel shows up, I always take that very seriously. And again, for myself as well, for really being able to make peace and to find a sense of beauty and a deep sense of meaning within change. So those are my three favorite major arcana cards. The next question is your favorite suit of the minors and why? So I have to give it up for the Pentacles. And this relates back to the Knight of Pentacles, how it used to be my signifier card. I'm somebody who at various points in my life has really struggled with being embodied, who has really struggled with kind of having both feet on the ground and really paying attention to my physical health and wellness. And so I learned very early on in my tarot journey to really love the Pentacles and to be able to appreciate how much this life is precious. I'm trying to flip through and find some more Pentacle cards because I didn't think to separate them out before. But to think about how precious life is, to think about how much beauty and wisdom and spiritual connection can be found by simply like going through this human experience. It very much reminds me of like the old Zen koan. Like if you want to seek enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Like being able to find the beauty and the profundity in the most mundane circumstances in life. So I'm a big Pentacles girl. Always have been, always will be. Next question, which of the courts would you consider as your significator? And so again, we're going back to, this theme of the Knight of Pentacles, where it walked with me for a very long time because I very much was a student of life. I was a student in university, but I was also a student of adulthood and life, and learning how to put one foot in front of the other, learning how to work hard, learning how to manage my resources, learning how to also be able to move through moments of profound difficulty with grace, and to share what I had and to uplift other people who are going through difficult times as well. Like, I very much think that the night is like the hero of the tarot. We often think about the Fool and the Fool's journey as being very heroic, but if we want to talk about archetypally, like, who is the protector of the small, or who is the one who is ready to go out guns blazing and change the world, that is very much the Knight. But I see the Knight of Pentacles as being really one of the more grounded and protective and loving aspects. Like, this Knight, he is going out into the world, I think really with the best of intentions and with trying to make the world a better place, and is committed to every single aspect of the journey, as opposed to the Knight of Wands or the Knight of Swords, who might act before they think, who are definitely, like, just so, they're such wonderful figures in their own right, but they want to skip ahead. They want to get to the final battle, and they're not putting in the work that you need to do in order to get there. So again, very chop wood, carry water. However, after I left college, the Knight of Pentacles really kind of stopped being my signifier. That definitely felt like our time together had come to an end, and the King of Cups has really come in for me. So the King of Cups, to me, I'm still trying to understand his lessons like 3 or 4 years later. But he really speaks to me about emotional maturity, about being able to tap into and to tap out of intuitive flow, of being able to dive into and come back out of very intense emotional situations, and not to get swept up and not to get lost in that, not to use his power to harm other people, or like not to let his emotions run wild in such a way that they cloud his judgment, but instead being able to see emotions as kind of being strongly connected to intuition, like being able to really sit with the feeling and to listen to the message that that feeling is trying to impart, like what the core of that is, and then from a place of wisdom be able to act from that message. Also, he's just an artist, he's a creative, and I have really gotten deeply into music and into making art over the last few years. It started as a pandemic hobby, but now it's just a daily part of my life. And music is also very, very important to my friends and to my family that I have made here in my new home. So I think the King of Cups is also like this, I don't know, he's like a next level poet and bard, and again, somebody who is able to walk that line of being able to dream, of being able to feel very intensely, and then put it out into the world in a very positive way. So those are my significators. I also, from time to time, like especially if I'm doing any kind of work with numerology, like I will consider my birth card, which is the Chariot. I am a life path 7, and I think that the Chariot card very much speaks to driving forward, to being able to harmonize the different aspects of yourself and to integrate them, so that way you can move forward with confidence, you can move forward in alignment and kind of face the challenges of life but to do so in a very, what's the word that I'm looking for? To be able to face the challenges of life with great enthusiasm, right? Yeah. And I'm somebody who's traveled so much in my life. I've lived in a few different countries, and the chariot as being like the world traveler of just like going out and learning everything there is to learn and seeing everything there is to see, and being able to integrate and bring on all of the lessons of the journey as well is just very powerful to me, and I like reflecting on that image as well. All right, question number 8. Is cardstock a big deal for you? I wouldn't say that cardstock is, and in fact, some of my favorite decks ever are decks that just have horribly bad cardstock. Like the Golden Tarot is really infamous for having just cardstock that chips very easily. And not a lot of people are a fan of it. Also, not a lot of people like the old classic low Scarabeo cardstock either, or the old US game systems cardstock. And like that to me is beautiful. Like classic low Scarabeo cardstock is butter. It is amazing. I will always stand low Scarabeo. I will always defend them. I don't know why they ever changed. So no, cardstock is not a big deal for me. If something was printed on like printer paper, I would find a way to try to make it work for myself. Question 9, do you read for others? Not as much anymore. I used to, especially when I was first starting out. I read for my roommates, I read for my friends, my family, I read for random people. Like I would just go and sit in the library and I would have a tarot deck with me, because I always did back then. And people would come up and ask questions about it, and then I would read for them. And that was really amazing and beautiful. I don't feel that pull to do so. I think that if somebody like asked me to now, I would, but it's very much a personal thing. And that's partially because over the years I have sadly had to give bad news to people, and that's never a good feeling when you're doing a reading, and no matter how you try to spin a situation, the message that you're getting and just that intuitive sense is that it's not going to turn out well. And that's hard, and I don't like doing that. So that's largely the reason why I have stopped. Question 10, what is the #1 deck you are excited to have come out this year? Again, I'm so disconnected. I have no idea what is on the horizon, but I will say Baba Studios, who is the publisher of the Victorian Romantic Tarot, is finally going to do a reprint of the Bohemian Gothic within the next few years, and I am very excited for that. I am very much looking forward to it because I missed the boat the first time around. So that isn't quite answering the question because it's still a few years out from being able to purchase, but I am excited. Oh, and I did pre-order the Spirit Keepers Tarot by Benabel Len, the new Revelation edition. So that should definitely ship this year, and I would be excited to work with that when it comes out. All right, we have made it to the lightning round of questions. Coffee or tea? Definitely a coffee girl. Colors or monochrome? I used to be monochrome, but now I am colors all the way. I really enjoy playing with my sense of style and playing with my home decor. Question 3, cats or dogs? Dogs all the way. I love dogs, always and forever. Flora or fauna? I would have to go with fauna. I do not have a good track record of keeping plants alive. Although I prefer to do nature walks. So I enjoy like looking at the flora out in nature, but I should not be trusted with any living plant. Favorite time of day, definitely sunset. So one of my favorite things about living where I live now, and especially this home in particular, is it's right on the river, and the sunsets over the water are absolutely amazing. My favorite time of day. It brings me so much peace and so much joy. And then the last question, what are your favorite things beside tarot? So I answered this a little bit. I am a very baby, very novice musician, but I play the piano, I play the bass guitar. I'm a collage artist, and I really enjoy making work that is inspired by spirituality and by different archetypes. I love to read. I read voraciously. Definitely studying religion and history and anthropology are some of my favorite things to do. And I also deeply enjoy movies. And at one point, when I originally started college, I was a film major, and I found out that that wasn't for me, but I still really enjoy movies and dissecting them and thinking about the art design and the composition of cinema and so on and so forth. So that is my answer to the Tarot Community Build Tag. I just want to thank Crescent Dream Tarot so much again for creating this tag for all of us to do. Let me know if you are going to create a video response, or feel free to put some of your answers in the comment section below. I would love to chat with you all and to get to know you on a deeper level this year. So until next time, I am sending you much love and much light. Bye.